Hello everybody and welcome to This Nintendo Life episode 319. My name is NBZ and I am tired. Oh my god, I'm tired. I feel like it is Easter weekend, which is very good, and I definitely need it because I've had a week of just lots of stuff happening and also had to wake up early multiple times for stupid reasons. One of which really pissed me off because it was specifically I have a window issue basically. It's not an issue, but there's like a rubber lining on my inside of my window. So when you open the window up, it has like the rubber lining there. And I opened it up one day and I was like, why is this all like old and decrepit and like kind of like dried up basically? It's like it like dried up in a couple of areas, and I was like, well, this is shitty. So
on your new flat,
brand new flat, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? So I emailed some people and they sent someone over, and they sent this guy over early in the morning. So but the annoying thing is they're like, well, the guy will be there between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. and because I'm me, Bally, and I need to take a dump in the morning and it takes maybe an hour for me to do that, I have to wake up even earlier. So I wake up early, go to the toilet. The guy arrives at at early time, comes in, takes a quick look at the window and is like, yeah, sorry, this is a Juliet balcony window that requires a different type of fucking piping, and I didn't have that with me, so I'm gonna have to go and you're gonna have to reorganize the booking. So that's great. So now I have to wake up early.
That always happens with stuff like that. My god, I remember that on the old flat. It was just
yeah. So have to wake up early once again next week, but I've got 2 more days of sleep, so that's nice at the very least. But all good. How have you been faring, Bally, on this Easter weekend?
Good. Yeah, with the clock springing forward, Bally Chew thought they'd gone the other way somehow. So we ended up getting up where he woke up at like 5 a.m. or something.
Great.
So yeah, that was fun last weekend. But
very
all
fun.
things aside, he's a very good sleeper, and we are getting our sleep. And it's all good. We're having a good Easter weekend. It's nice and chill. Playing some video games, been out on some nice walks. Gonna do more chill stuff tomorrow.
Seen a movie, which we may talk about.
No Galaxy film. That was Pally Jr.'s first film. We will get to that in the second segment. So yeah, it's been
absolutely
good weekend so far.
Very good. Well, we're here to make your weekend even better. Well, I guess by Monday when this comes out,
make the start of your week even better.
The start of your week, I guess, because the weekend will be ending. Unfortunately, alas, I think America has some time off, but not like the same amount as we do. I think they maybe just get Friday and not Monday. But yeah, we are very blessed here to have 4 days off.
Are you saying we're bigger Easter fans than the Americans? Is that what this has come down to? Yeah.
I guess we just love Jesus more is what it comes down to, yeah. Shout out to Jesus. I Am Jesus Christ released on Steam this week as well. Big numbers that's doing. It's not doing very well at all. But I Am Jesus Christ did come out, which is a notable release because it's been a meme game for years and years and actually finally came out and apparently is full of AI, just riddled with AI everywhere. Okay. So everyone loves it.
Is it a super serious? Does it take itself very seriously and it's about the real life of it says historically accurate as possible, or am I making that up?
I think it is. I think it's trying to be, but it's like it's just very badly done, I think, is the thing. Yeah. So it just lands more in comedy because of how it's not quite great.
Maybe people who know about Jesus Christ but don't know much about video games are like, we need to teach them video game players about this Jesus guy.
The evangelicals have finally figured out what the internet is and are here to make video games about it. So yeah, interesting times. But anyway, Bally, what are we going to talk about here today on this podcast about video games?
For the first segment, we're going to talk about the games that we have been playing, and then for the second segment, there's a few rumors floating around, and we're going to get to my reactions and Bally Jr.'s reactions to the Super Mario Galaxy movie. So we'll cover all that in the kind of a news roundup segment for the second segment.
Yes, absolutely. Let's kick things off with video games that we've been playing. So I've had a couple of games that I've been wanting to finish. As last time you were like, oh, Pokopia is great, and I was like, I should buy that, but maybe I should finish some games first. And I decided to be a good boy and finish some games. So that is what I have done, and they're really good. So first one is Paranormasight: The Mermaid Curse. So people will remember, I talked about the original Paranormasight a couple of years ago, back when it released. For context, so this was a visual novel. The first one is Paranormasight: The Seven Mysteries of Honjo. And it is a visual novel made by Square Enix. They don't list like an individual development team. It's kind of like, I guess it's similar with a lot of Japanese companies, but like we do know the inner workings of Nintendo just because we're nerds about it. And so we know like R&D1 works on this and the Tokyo team works on this. But like Capcom and like Square Enix, I actually don't have as much of a, aside from Creative Business Unit 3, who I think are just called Creative Unit 3 now, which is a Final Fantasy 14 team. I don't have a good insight on like, okay, what's the team called that works on Monster Hunter or Resident Evil or Dragon's Dogma, right, under Capcom. Same with Square Enix. It's like, what team does all these things? There's Team Asano, I guess, which is kind of like a broad umbrella. It's like the Octopath style games, but yeah, it's hard to kind of pin down. So anyway, this was during an era where Square Enix were releasing, let's say, 25 random games a year. Things like Various Daylife or what's the other one? I was just talking to Matt Lorigan the other day about it. There's a few of those in that era. Harvestella came out during that point in time. Valkyrie Elysium, I think, was another one. There was a lot. The Diofield Chronicles is the main one that we were chatting about, and I was like, I actually do want to play the Diofield Chronicles. So yeah, that era was interesting because soon after that they had a new CEO come in and take over, whose name was Kiryu, by the way. One of the names of the Square Enix CEO is Kiryu, which is very funny. But he was like, we're done with small, stupid experimental games that make us no money. Let's only focus on Final Fantasy and big things. And I was a little bit saddened by that, and a little worried as well. I think we kind of talked about like, oh, does that mean they're not going to do the 2D HD stuff anymore?
Yeah.
Is that like not big enough for them?
Which side of that fence does Octopath Traveler fall on? We don't really know.
No, but it turned out it did feel on a good side because they've continued with it, and
Yes.
obviously they're doing Elliot and the Millennium Tale, whatever the hell, is coming out this year, and
Great name.
you know, Octopath Zero came out. So yeah, they seem 2D HD seems to be a thing they're still wanting to do. But like of all the games from that era of Square Enix putting stuff out, Paranormasight was by far the best. It was a critical darling. It was a little bit of a cult hit. Just a really well written visual novel with really good characters and a horror angle, but not like the scariest thing. Like, it was scary. If you're me, it was very scary. If you're sitting in your bed at night and slowly moving the camera, panning around and knowing you're going to get jump scared, it's not the best, but it was compelling enough from a narrative standpoint, Bally, where I had to get through the story because I really enjoyed it and wanted to see what happened. And so, yeah, I liked that game a lot. I thought it was very, very cool. And I was worried, as we were saying, that might be a casualty of Square Enix getting rid of smaller games. Fast forward to February this year, Nintendo hold a partner showcase, I believe it was. This was before the Indie World, right? They hold a partner showcase, and maybe the only thing of interest there for me was that they announced a sequel to Paranormasight called The Mermaid's Curse, which they then were like, oh, also it's coming out in like a week's time. And I was like, that's crazy. What do you mean? You just announced it and it's already coming out, which was very exciting because I obviously wanted to jump in and play it. And I did. And I played, maybe couple of hours, and then things got busy. I went to GDC, of course, and that's when I was, playing a lot of Slay the Spire 2, and things were like getting in the way. And I got back and I was like, right, I need to get back to this thing. Like, it's a little bit slow to start, I will say, in terms of the onboarding and getting through like the opening chapters and the introduction to characters. It's interesting, but it didn't really have its hooks in me. And so I sat down, I spent a bit of time getting a bit further in. And I think there's a point maybe around like the 4 or 5 hour mark where stuff starts happening and it's just a roller coaster until the end. And it's like, oh, this thing, oh, what? You mean that person? And this is happening? And like, there's this other mystery that's coming out. The idea behind the game is called The Mermaid's Curse. And this one is actually, I would say, less horror than the first one. I would definitely recommend it to a broader group of people. And part of their marketing has been like, oh, we heard from lots of people who said they would love to play it, but they were too scared of the first one to play it. So they went in a bit more of a, I would say, more folk-tale-y direction. There's still...
That's so interesting to me because there's a group who just love horror and that's the thing they, flock towards. And I kind of associated these games with that. So for them to be like, we're going to tone down the horror to appeal to a wider audience is like, It's like Last of Us. Like, we'll tone down the zombies to appeal to a wider. It's like that's not how that game works. Like, it just feels like quite a core part of it. So that's interesting to me.
It is a little odd because I do think that I am like an outlier in the audience of Paranormasight, because I think a lot of people like, and also the game is called Paranormasight. It's dealing with the paranormal, which is inherently scary, inherently like unsettling, and so the entire series almost feels like it should be in that direction, but I guess, you know, they heard a lot of feedback, probably, you know, I think Square Enix and those companies tend to listen to like their Japanese audience quite a lot, so maybe that's where they were hearing it more loudly, but yeah, they went in a direction this time that was a bit more folk, I wouldn't call it folk horror, but like folk tale-y a little bit, very Japanese history focused.
Okay.
There is, I would say, there's a part of this game at the start. There's a chapter with these two characters. One of them's like a fantasy writer, and the other one's like a young girl who's like she's like a psychic, basically. And a lot of the chapter that they start in is like an hour to an hour and a half of lots of like lore dumps about Japanese history and what happened back in Japanese history, and all these names of people and families and dynasties and things that happen, and all of it is kind of relevant to the rest of the game, but I do think that chunk of the game is what tripped me up a little bit at the beginning of not being fully invested, because I'm like, right, I don't really know why you're telling me all this stuff yet. I need to get invested in a central mystery before I'm like, you know, reading about all this stuff. And I think they could have presented that part of it better. I think the weakest element of this game is that kind of chunk of it where they're like telling you lots of stuff, and there's so much you can read, because basically every piece of information gets added to like a log that you can go into, and it's almost like a fucking Wikipedia entry of like, okay, here's like 7,000 words about this one topic, and you can go really in depth and just read about it, and read about the actual history, I think, to a lot of degree, about Japan and what was going on in these different eras and different time periods and the families and all this sort of stuff, and it finally connects eventually, but like I think they kind of overdo it in that beginning kind of lore dump. When it starts going though, this game is fucking cooking on such a good level in terms of the mystery and the things that it's revealing and the way that it kind of all comes together. I was really in it, and it ended up being like, okay, well, it's taken me this long to get to 4 hours. Then I finished the entire game in like 3 days. Like every night after work, I was like, no, I just want to keep playing it, because I was just like I think I mentioned to you, I was like, you were like, oh, do you want to play Overwatch? I was like, no, I'm so close to the end of Paranormasight, I have to finish this. This is like, I need to see the end of this type of thing.
The narrative gets its hooks in, yeah.
Yes. Oh god, it really, really did. And I think it has. It's kind of like, it's playing with mythology. It's also playing with just ideas of things like immortality and like, what does it mean to live for 1,000 years? You know, really, what does that do to a person? Like, really interesting stuff like that. And I think it really wraps a lot of those ideas together very nicely. Comes together in a way that I found very satisfying. I think the end of the game, you could be, I don't know, I think people can be kind of like hot or cold on it, because there is stuff that happens that maybe isn't fully set up, but I bought into it, and I really liked it, and I thought they did a very good job with it. And the end of this game, the kind of like, because this game does like meta puzzles, sort of. The first one did that, a really cool one that I remember calling out on the podcast about like the in-game volume slider and having to change that to like interact with stuff. There's stuff like that in this game, and it goes even further with it. It is one of those things where, like, yes, I did have to look up what to do because it is a little bit esoteric, but the actual thing that you end up doing is just very cool and fourth wall breaking, and just like, I think it's very interesting when games do that sort of thing and like kind of break the fiction and kind of like go on their own way to like make it work within the story. So I really did enjoy that and found it very, very satisfying right up until the end.
Does it link to the other games at all?
Yeah, so there's only two, and the first game, it does mention characters from the first game, so I do think it's a standalone enough experience where you could play it having never played the first one and you won't lose anything, because it is centered on these core characters. It does feel like they're building like a universe in the background of like, okay, there's definitely one of the main characters of the first game is mentioned in a diary entry, and then I think one of the characters who isn't revealed is like should have been involved in that other incident as well. So there's references to people and the incident that like they referenced the incident in Tokyo a year ago, basically. And this is all set in like around the 1980s, basically. It says like 1980X, so you don't know when in the 1980s, but that's kind of the idea. So they're all happening around the same time, it feels like, but you do not need to play the first one. And I would say if you're not a horror person, I would actually recommend this one. Without that one, you don't need to play the first one. I think the first one's really good. This one, I really like the story. I just thought it was very compelling. And like at the end of the day, what I found with this game is it is ultimately people talking to each other. Like that's the majority of what the game is people just standing in places talking to each other and asking questions. And the way that things unfold and mysteries are revealed through that is just very, very compelling. So despite the fact that, that's majority of what happens in this game, I found it really, really interesting, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So awesome. Highly recommend. If you're a visual novel person, this is definitely for you. You should definitely check it out. And if not, I think even then it's very digestible. Like I think it's on the not the shorter end, but 11-12 hours it took me, and a Danganronpa is more closer to 30. Yeah. So
you just like dropping me in at the deep end when it comes to like a new genre.
I do.
So would I be able to digest this okay? Like it's
I think so.
Manageable?
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
I think, but especially because this is more a pure like Danganronpa has like deduction to it, and like you are solving things really, and you are doing minigames.
So there's no deduction in this. It's just person talks to another person.
Well,
keep going.
I guess there's only deduction insofar as like there are some end game, like the meta puzzles I'm talking about, where I was like, I don't actually know what to do here, so I looked it up type of deal. Okay. So there's a little bit of that, but for the most part, it is about following the story. And the way that it's built is you have like a story chart, essentially. And so you have your 4 kind of core groups of characters. They always have groups of 2, basically. So you have like your main character, User, and his best friend. Then you have these 2 girls who are like friends with them. And then there's like the guy who's the fantasy writer and the young girl. And then another group as well. So there's four sets of 2 people, basically, and each person has like a timeline that goes across from them, and so you can see where they overlap, and you're like, okay, while these 2 were doing this, these other 2 people were over here talking to this other person. So you basically unlock chunks of the story as you go along, and there is a little bit of choice of like, oh, I want to see this part first, but ultimately you're kind of going to find the same narrative thread as you go through. It just depends like what order you do stuff in, basically. So eventually you'll get to a point where you're like, well, I've done every single conversation, now it needs to unlock a brand new one for me. So yeah, it will do that naturally, and so you can then just jump around the story chart, and they save stuff for reveal. So it's like, well, we can't tell the player this until they've found this out, so we're not going to show them this part of the story until that's happened, and then it weaves in naturally, and you're like, oh, so this person knew this at this point in time, but I didn't know that when I was talking to them 2 hours ago or whatever. So yeah, it's very smart with that stuff. It's not as labyrinthine as say a 13 Sentinels or a like an Uchikoshi game, because Uchikoshi's like timeline stuff is like fucking like a web basically of stuff happening. So it's much more simple than that. So I would say it takes a lot of inspiration from those types of games, but presents it in a more approachable, simpler package that ultimately I think is very, very appealing. And yeah, I think if you're going to play any of these, this would be my recommendation. So nice. It's great. Really, really enjoyed it. So there you go. It's Paranormasight, The Mermaid's Curse. Bally, you have been playing one of my favourite games from last year. A little game by the name of Ooh. And that's Ooh with 3 O's and an umlaut on the first O. This is from Nama Takahashi, who is a solo Japanese game developer who made Electhead that you have played and I have not. So you've actually played both of his games. I have.
Now. Do you know why it's called Ooh? I only realised this at the end of the game. Is
it because the character and the 2 bombs spell Ooh together?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The character has like 2...
He has 2 little buds
ears
at the top
or
of his head,
buds or something on
which
his
is
head,
the umlaut, essentially.
It's in that, exactly, yeah. I only got that at the end of the game. I was like, oh, okay, right, yeah.
I actually only just realised that as you said it right now.
Oh, fair enough.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah.
Yeah, turns out it was a really great game. Who'd have thought it? It's really great. I think that the beat to beat of puzzling is phenomenal. I think I maybe enjoyed the more linear stuff a bit more than the kind of, I'll get to the other
don't
part,
know where to go next type of deal.
Don't know where to go next part. But
yeah,
that kind of beat to beat and having this really simplistic mechanic of, if you start with one bomb, you eventually get two bombs, you can put the bomb below you to jump up, you can put it above you to come down, you can put it to the right to go across. Well, to put it above you is actually a specific way of doing that. It's not as simple as the other ones. And then you could get two bombs to go right and then left, and then you can make one bomb fall to catch it to then bounce you left and then right, and it's just like the number of options.
It's crazy how much they do with such a simple mechanic.
Exactly.
Basically.
And it really reminded me that buzz of the first time I played the first Box Boy. Like, it's that level of, here's a really simple mechanic, but we can do so many things with it that you haven't, we've introduced this mechanic to you, you haven't even thought about what you can do with this mechanic. And we have, and we're going to show you what we thought about. And that's kind of how this game feels. Because I think this game is so impressive how many times they create an obnoxiously obvious dead end. Now, dead ends happen a lot in Metroidvanias. It's almost like a staple of being a Metroidvania.
Right.
The way you get out of a dead end in a traditional Metroidvania is, here's a new item. You now need to use this new item in some way to either go through this dead end or turn back, and there's an alternate route, and that's how you progress. Says we're going to take that idea and turn it a bit on its head, because rather than give you a new item, we're going to make you stop and think. And it's very clear when you reach a dead end, because you go to one of these kind of warping rooms, but there's nowhere beyond that warping room you can go other than warp to a previous place.
And you can see on the map as well, like when you look on the map, it's like, this is a dead end, there is nothing else here. And so, you are then forced to reckon with the fact that the key that gets you further is, in fact, a thing you have learned by getting to this point.
Exactly. Normally at the start of that area, I think, which is really cool. And the game does this like 7-8 times, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just very, very satisfying when you do stop and think, oh, right, that's how you do it. And most of the time, I did get it. There were a few times I was like, okay, but how does this... I would get the mechanic. I wouldn't know how to apply the mechanic to the start of the area, for example.
To how to progress forward, yeah.
To progress forward. And that happened a few times. And then there's a kind of a bit at the end of the game that's very similar to the ending of Elekid. I won't spoil either. That just kind of made me feel a bit like, oh, I knew I was meant to go there, but I didn't know how to get to this and that. Oh, of course, that links to it. And then I'd like look up something. But
yeah, there was definitely a couple of rooms at the back end that I was like, I don't really know how do I put these things together to make it like work, basically.
Exactly. But the kind of reaching a dead end, working out where you're meant to go next, but also just the beat to beat of going through a linear place, working out the solution to the next puzzle, incredibly satisfying. Like, I just think that it's just such impeccable design, and even the small stuff, like I loved that each area just had a unique feel, and I think this game has like one theme tune, but they just do alternate versions of that same one theme tune for every area, which I really appreciate. I love stuff like that. And I really love just sitting down and playing an area in a sitting. And when I say a sitting, like a very short sitting, like it takes maybe 20 minutes, half an hour on some of the tougher ones to like get through just a more linear, focused, fixed area. And it was just a really great little 2 to 3 hour package. Like, I think this game is phenomenal. I do think you should try Elekid, MBZ. I think U is a bit stronger, but Elekid is not that far behind. I think it is a really good game too.
Because I know people liked it, but I definitely didn't hear as much effusive praise as I did for U. I think the thing that really appeals to me about U in particular is that tunic style of, it doesn't tell you, you wordlessly kind of figure out what you're supposed to do, like it is Metroidvania distilled, basically. That phrase that a lot of people don't really like, but I guess has kind of become a thing now. Like, I think this is actually the perfect game to use that word for, because it is literally a Metroidvania where the solution is about learning something as opposed to getting an ability that then lets you go forward.
Yeah, I way preferred this game to like Animal Well, for example.
Right.
Like,
100%. Yeah.
I think that Animal Well is biting off a lot. There is so many mechanics and things and things you can do in that game, and it's just there's like no editor almost with that game besides just expanding and constant. And you can have long play sessions in Animal Well and not always achieve much, and this is just like a very linear, short, distilled version, as you say, of kind of a lot of those ideas, and it's kind of a true Metroidvania. And
I almost don't know that I would call it a Metroidvania either, just because it is relatively linear, like you...
Yeah, Electhead was similar as well. It has Metroidvania elements.
Yes.
Like, both of them are kind of Metroidvania-y at points, but I think that ultimately they're still very, very linear Metroidvanias at the same time.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, it is about basically getting to a point and realizing, oh, I should apply this in this way, and I didn't. You're just like learning ways to use the bomb and your interaction with it in a way that is just so... I just thought this game is so exceptionally well designed.
Yeah.
It is just so smart in its approach, and it's the way that it layers complexity and how it all comes together at the end. I cannot say enough good things about you, and just how like refreshing it was to play. It was just such a injection of like, wow, this is why I love video games. Like, this is such a good example of like what the medium can do and how compelling it can be, and how it can just like make your brain work in ways that you didn't think was possible, right? It's just such a brilliant peeling back of layers that just ultimately results in something extremely compelling.
And I don't think it's completely brain busting either. Like, I think you're a bit stronger than me on puzzle games generally, but I'm not like crazy good at puzzle games, and I still found this, for the most part, pretty doable. Like, it's very manageable. And
I was worried coming into this. I was like, I actually didn't know where you were gonna land on Ooh, because I could see you pulling a fucking, what's the game that I love that you didn't, that's the one with the zooming in of things and out of things, like on iPad.
Gorogoa.
Gorogoa, yes, of course. Which apparently
Steam. What's the Steam Tactics one? Oh God, what's it called?
The Steam Tactics one.
Yeah, God, on the 3DS. Like, come on.
Oh, Codename Steam.
Codename Steam, yeah. No,
yes,
I enjoyed Codename Steam a hell of a lot more than Gorogoa. But anyway, yeah,
right, yeah, exactly.
Another game you love that I didn't love. But,
right. So I thought that could potentially be the case. I just didn't know how frustrated you would get, or how but I think it is testament to the design of this game that no, it just works on so many levels. I think
the gardens between, I would probably still prefer in terms of like, okay, here's, you're not really that into puzzle games, here's your first puzzle game in terms of like, here's
a good
cool,
onboarding one.
Yeah, here's a cool like confined thing and very linear, and you can work it out and it's cool and satisfying and you can do it in 2 to 3 hours. I would probably side with that above this. And then again, I would also just say that Cocoon, as we've said before in the show, is just on this level that is just incredible. And like, I never used a guide once in your Cocoon, and maybe that's a harsh criticism because I'm not the best at puzzle games, but I do feel like I need to just not look at guides to come away from a puzzle game with the absolute,
because you've got to have that feeling that you've conquered it yourself, right? And that you were smart enough to figure it out, and you're like, oh, I did that without any help, I'm so clever, look at me, type of deal, right? It's
exactly, that's the only reason we play puzzle games. Exactly.
Yeah, of course. So. Just feeling smart, basically.
But yeah, it's doing so many great things, and I would highly recommend it. And it was just it's a very cozy game. Like, it's very cute, it's very cozy, and the music is phenomenal. I thought it was just very quaint, and it's a beautiful game, beautiful puzzle game. Great recommendation, MBZ. I'm glad you called it out last year, or started.
Yeah, and obviously lots of people were talking about it. It's not just me out here banging the drum, but it did feel like one that should have gotten a bit more love. But ultimately, it's hard to break through the noise sometimes when it comes to these types of games. But yeah, a lot of people really did love it, and it was nominated for IGF's best design. Ultimately didn't end up winning it, but I think in a just world it would have done, because I think it is some of the best design. I think it's just such a good example of what makes games so unique and so interesting. And
totally.
Loved it. I just loved every moment of it. So yeah, very, very glad that you played Ooh. A great game. And I'm just super interested to see what he does next, because clearly a genius at work here. And maybe I'll pick up a Leckhead in the meantime and see what that's like.
They make a big deal of like getting the second bomb kind of mid-game. Did you ever think at any point you were going to get something else?
No, I don't think I did, because I think past that point I was like, I see what this game is doing, and what it is doing is we're going to get the most juice possible out of this single thing, and we're going to show you how clever you can be with this one thing. I guess two things with the two bombs, but ultimately the single mechanic, and how many ways can we flex that single mechanic to create unique and different and interesting puzzles. So yeah, I mean, perfect length as well, like just doesn't overstay its welcome, knows exactly when it's done and when to get out of there, and just genius, honestly. That's Ooh. The last game we're going to talk about is Shinobi Art of Vengeance. So I believe I bought Shinobi 2 days before Hollow Knight Silksong came out last year. So that was a really good idea. So last year, obviously, Ninja Gaiden came out as well, Ragebound, as well as Ninja Gaiden 4. And Ragebound, obviously, was on my Game of the Year list. I really enjoyed that game. I thought it was fantastic, had a great time with it. But I didn't really see it on as many other people's lists. And instead, I saw Shinobi on people's lists. And I was like, okay, I do need to get around to this thing. But for some reason, I had started it like 3 or 4 times and had just not gotten anywhere. And I was trying to think, like, why is this? And while I was playing it, the last couple of weeks or so, I've been like, why is it taking me so long to get through this game? Because fundamentally, like, at a DNA level, this is exactly what I'm looking for, which is like a side-scrolling action game with extremely responsive controls, fantastic animation, really beautiful artwork, engaging boss fights that you have to learn patterns of and be good at. And I was just like, why do I not feel the urge to pick this game up?
I feel sorry for games of this style that you don't beat in 3 days, because it's like, that's a sign. Yeah. That's a sign with MBZ. When he doesn't beat a style like this in just an incredibly short period of time, you don't often go back and come back and say, this is a fantastic game.
No, well, so it's really weird, because I do think it's really good. But like with Ninja Gaiden, I was playing it at Steam Deck in bed and like just like burning through levels, and just like I beat it pretty quickly after it came out. And Shinobi, it wasn't happening, and I'm trying to like while I've been playing, I'm just trying to diagnose why this is the case, because I think at the end of the day, it has all the ingredients that I like, and yet it just wasn't fully clicking in terms of me wanting to be into it the whole time. And I think part of it is a pacing problem. And so Shinobi is interesting in that it kind of positions itself not as a strictly linear action game, but also not as a Metroidvania, but kind of both at the same time, in the sense that the levels are quite long and they can take between 25 to 30 minutes to finish. And I think part of the reason I'm just like finishing a level and then bouncing is because, I just spent 30 minutes playing that. That's quite a long time. Do I want to start the next one? Because I know I have to commit a long amount of time if I want to just keep playing it. So that's one aspect. But then the other, I think, is the game expects you to go back and collect things once you have these up. So you'll get upgrades of like, now I can go, hit the ground and like smash through walls that I couldn't before. And there was some of those in like maybe the first couple of levels. So the game is almost expecting you to go back to those first few levels and like clean up the collectibles that you didn't get because you didn't actually have the ability to get them at the time. And I feel, even though they make that very easy in terms of fast travel points and all this sort of stuff, I just never had the drive to do that. Like, I think games that try and add Metroidvania elements to them when the game itself isn't really calling for it is something that I don't jive with, because if you're going to be a Metroidvania, just be a fucking Metroidvania, and then I'll be into you, and then I will play you obsessively and finish you. But I think it's a similar problem with The Messenger, where The Messenger, obviously the first half is straight ahead action game, but the problem with that is like then they force you to play the Metroidvania, and I didn't really like the Metroidvania, and so I think that also brought that game down in my estimation. And I don't think this brings Shinobi down necessarily, because I didn't engage with it in that way, but the fact that it was supposed to be played that way, I think made me feel like I wasn't playing it in the way it was intended, and therefore I felt bad at the end of levels when I wasn't going back and collecting stuff, even though that collecting stuff didn't really materially change much about the game. I think it's just a framing thing, almost, it's just the way the game has framed it, the way it has proposed it to me. My brain says, I don't really want to do that, and so now I feel like, I should not do that, even though the game is telling me I should. Weird one, very weird one to figure out, but ultimately as a game, as a thing that feels good to move around and hit things, I think it's really fantastic. I think it has excellent combat in terms of it's more combo driven than a game in this vein usually is, because I think Ninja Gaiden, to use it as another example, is more of a hit the enemy once and they're dead, and if you don't, then you get this power up that supercharges you to then be able to hit and kill enemies that are more than one hit, basically, and it's built around that cycle. And so it's a very fast paced get through the level, smash through. Versus this, where you are hitting enemies multiple times because you're juggling them in the air. So you're doing light, heavy to get them up in the air, jump, air juggle them for a little bit, smash them down to the ground, and then by the end of the game you're getting get enemies with shields and lots of beefy health bars, and so you're using your abilities. One of them is a charge punch, and that breaks an enemy shield immediately, but if you get hit while you're charging it, then you get knocked out. And so it's about finding the space to do that while lots of different enemies are attacking you at the same time, and there's lots of combat arena rooms where you're kind of juggling it, and it's very fun to go around and kill everybody, but it is a lot more work to kill an enemy in Shinobi than it is in a traditional run and gun action game. And so, I think the pacing is just a little bit different in that sense. But it feels great when you're fighting the bosses and you're just trying to string all these moves together. You have special moves that you can equip to your character, and the one that I was using was a breath of fire, basically, that I would just shoot out like a dragon and just do a bunch of damage. You have these mega special moves that cover the entire screen and have insane animation done to them. This game looks fucking amazing, really excellent visual style and animation. It's just top-notch quality. It really does feel this is what you get when you have a big company doing a 2D game these days. There is money that has been put into this thing, and it really, really shows. So I think it is very compelling in that sense. I think it has good variety in its levels, where they will often have a bit of non-linearity to them, but they'll always have some kind of gimmick that you're doing, and then some kind of theming that is a little bit different. There are a few levels that act classic, almost Contra ones, where it's you're on a you're on your dog and you're running across the environment. You have to hit things on the way, and then the other one you're on a surfboard, basically, you're always moving type of level. So they've got a few of those in there as well as there's some parts of the game where you find a portal, and that portal opens into a really hard platforming section. So there's actually some really cool platforming, stringing things together type of movement. You get a glide eventually, which is very nice, and you have an air dash from the beginning. So the movement kit just feels really good and very good to engage with. And I was fighting the last final boss last night. It's a 2-phase boss fight, and I was mash my head against it for a while, but then eventually it clicks and you get it, and it's just very satisfying to finally pull that off and finish it. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I finished it at the end of the day. I think it just doesn't fully connect with me, like I said, for various reasons, but I admire its quality, and I think it's a very well made thing. But I think just the pace of it's just a little discordant with my personal kind of preferences. And
nice.
I do wish that it was a bit more in the framing of what Ninja Gaiden Ragebound had been. Right. But hey, it's a bit different, and they're trying to do something different, and I appreciate they are. So
how long was it?
I think 8 hours for me.
Okay.
I looked down how long to beat, and they were saying 14. So I don't know. Did I just time travel, or maybe that's for fully completing and doing all the objectives and finding all the stuff? But it's
you
not
do play
very
games
long.
at this weird speed that I just can't quite match.
Yeah.
This
Yeah. But no, it was relatively breezy once I got hooked into it and kept going. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm glad it's ticked off the list, and now I don't really have anything, so I have to decide what I'm going to play next, which is good. So
does it start with P and end in
Opia.
Opia.
I haven't bought it yet. I feel like the zeitgeist is starting to end, and now people are going to be playing Tomodachi Life instead, probably. Maybe I get Tomodachi Life.
Do you think it's weird those games are coming out close together, or those companies just don't talk on that level? Or
it's slightly odd.
One has done far better than they predicted. Or...
Probably. I feel like Tomodachi Life is actually going to pop the fuck off as well, and mainly because I don't know if you remember this, but like when they announced it, the Japanese tweet for Tomodachi Life on Nintendo's Japan Twitter got the most likes a tweet has ever gotten from that account in the history of it existing. Basically, my running theory is that kids who grew up with 3DSs are now activated and they're on PC and on other platforms. Basically, so Fantasy Life, the sequel to Fantasy Life came out and was like fucking doing crazy numbers on Steam, like insane number of people playing Fantasy Life. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And then Inazuma 11 came out, the fucking football game, right? That was also on 3DS. And it also was doing fucking insane numbers on Steam. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And I think the answer is the 3DS kids have money. The 3DS kids have jobs now. And all those 3DS kids played Fantasy Life, they played Inazuma, and they fucking played Tomodachi Life. Let me tell you that. That's sold more copies than I think people realize. I think we should brace for impact. Tomodachi Life is going to be one of the best-selling games of the year. I'm telling you right now.
The release date? Sorry, I missed the...
Oh, I think it's in April, maybe, some point this month. But just be prepared for a meteor to land, because we're going to be hearing numbers about millions of people playing Tomodachi Life. That's my prediction for you all. So, anyway, I don't know. I feel like so the one game that I have told multiple people that I was going to start, and now that I have a sofa and my setup is not final, but like it's in a comfortable position that I can actually do, was I told everyone I was going to play Lies of P, Bally. Nice. So I guess I have to do that now.
This will be PC connected to TV.
Right?
It's the lighting okay in your living room with summer approaching.
Spring. So I do need to sort out the curtains in the living room because I don't have any right now. So that's not great for playing in the afternoon, for example, when the sun like goes across the sofa. So I need to have some solution for that. And then like I need lamps. I think I need, because I have like I have the light in my kitchen on, so it's not too bright, but it's not too dark when I'm playing stuff at the moment. So I need some lamps to do that. But yeah, I need some mood lighting, I think. You know what I really want to do is I want to get those like LED strips you can put on a television to make it look like the background of what you're playing. So it's like LED lights that flash out the color of what's on the screen, essentially. So that's a rabbit hole I'll probably go down as well. So we shall see. But lots of stuff to do still, and I'm again jumping between lots of things, lots of games. I didn't mention it on this episode, but I also beat Donkey Kong, the 94 Game Boy Donkey Kong, which I talked about on the show last year. I got about halfway through it and then just stopped for no good reason. So I did go back and finish that, and largely my thoughts remain the same. It's very good. I think it's miles better than fucking Mario versus Donkey Kong on GBA. So much better. Actually feels quite good to control. Obviously, it's a lot easier when you have save states as well to deal with some of the minor frustrations. But I thought it was very good and holds up really well for a game from 94 on the Game Boy doing puzzling stuff. I think it's pretty great. So
nice.
Very much enjoyed that.
I should have also said that like I managed to play even with my sickness, so I think that also needs said that like my Overwatch sickness is pretty bad.
Oh right, I was going to say, what sickness are you talking about, Bally? What, did you get COVID? Bad. You know?
We were just talking like I've reached season 1 of like Overwatch's reboot or whatever they're calling it. I'm on Battle Pass level 120, so I've been playing quite a lot of Overwatch.
This man is diseased. He needs help.
This is like my third wave of Overwatch. So and we'll jump back in.
But this is by far the most that you have played. I think.
Definitely. We'll jump back in. There's a new female DPS,
new character. Yes,
next week. So we'll see her revealed on the 8th, I think. As in like gameplay.
I think this is going to be. I think this is your first like game that you're actually just going to keep playing forever, Bally?
I'm going to try. I'm going to try.
I think it is, because it's been mine for years, right? Like I jump in all the time, but I've not. I think I have less of a fervor with it because I got that out of my system in 2017, where I played it for like 300 hours the first year that I played it, and then then I just come back to it every time they update new characters, and then put a few hours in, and it's more of my like check-in game to listen to podcasts with and stuff. So I treat it very much like that. But Bally's trying to become a competitive sicko, it seems like.
I'm trying to get good, because if people know how MBZ kind of treated Street Fighter recently, was it 2 years ago?
Like
I guess
a couple of years ago, yeah.
I'm trying to do that with across all support, tank, and DPS to try and just get good, get better. Get my way up those ranks. I'm not succeeding. Like I think my highest is silver 5 in like DPS. Okay. So like there's work to do. But turns out everyone at Overwatch has gotten better while I've gotten worse. So that's fun to deal with. But
tends to be how it is.
We can check in a bit with the other characters.
Also, we're not spry chickens anymore, Bally. All these young people playing video games are much better at it than we are. So they've really nailed it. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Wu Yang is my biggest project at the moment. Wu Yang, the support, the water Chinese boy. His crazy water balls going everywhere. Crazy water balls. Love it. Yeah. Sweet. Well, that's going to do us for the games we've been playing. Don't go anywhere, though, because we'll be back right after this break with a bit of news, a bit of movie chat, a bit of rumours. So we'll see you in a bit. All right, everybody, welcome back to the second part of today's show. So to do a little bit of this, bit of that. We're going to talk about the Mario Galaxy movie, spoiler free. So if you've not seen it, don't worry, because Bally has seen it and I have not. So it'll be spoiler free stuff, except for stuff they've shown in marketing, which includes a thing. So if you don't want to know about the thing that they have very obviously included in marketing, then maybe leave. But that's the only thing, I guess. And then we've got some rumors that also kind of relate to that as well to some degree. So we're going to talk about the rumored Zelda and Star Fox and kind of Metroid as well, which I don't have as much information on, but was hearing a little bit around the space about. So yes, that is what we're going to do. So Bally, you have a child now who can look at things on a screen and who has some kind of conscience.
Oh, he's been that way a very long time. But yes.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but now can maybe understand things on the screen. Oh, yeah. So I guess before we get into the Galaxy stuff, you did watch the first movie, right?
Yes. So Bally Jr. has been getting very heavily into video games, as everyone listening to this podcast will be aware of. I thought, I think we need to introduce the first Mario Brothers film. If this goes well, we can then go on to watch Mario Galaxy film. So checked Amazon. It's on Amazon. You have to pay £5-6 to download it. So now we've downloaded it. We own it.
You actually bought it, so it's not a rental.
No rental here. Yeah,
that's really good actually, because he'll probably be like, "Can I watch that again?"
Yes, multiple times. So. And watching in the comfort of our own home, it went down really well. I think the moment he popped off the most for was when he worked at. They started talking about Kongs, and I said, "Oh, Donkey Kong, maybe, who knows?" And he was like, Donkey Kong." And then the second Donkey Kong was revealed, and he starts fighting Mario. Like this boy was so on team Donkey Kong beating Mario's ass. You have no idea. He was popping
so
off.
funny.
He was popping off for Donkey Kong and all the moves he was doing. And when he saw that like Mario eventually won, he was like, "Oh, that's gutting." Oh, so he was so disappointed.
Yeah.
But just the whole film, like he loved the characters, loved the pacing. He's not old enough to like keep up with stories in that sense, but
No.
I think it was Miyamoto and Chris Meledandri had done their job. Bally Jr. was one happy customer, and with Easter coming up, well, this weekend, Caroline and I were like, right, well, we're both off on Good Friday, so why don't we get Bally Chew looked after by my parents, and then we can take Bally Jr. out for his first ever cinema experience. And we talked him through it. We sort of said, like, it's going to be loud. It's going to be... We brought like his booster chair to put on the cinema seat if he needed it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Which he didn't need.
Yeah.
He didn't need. He was tall enough, so that's all good. But yeah, headphones to like just... Holy shit, cinema's loud. Like, I'm 34 and they're effing loud, but like for him, I think it was just incredibly loud. So we brought his headphones to put over, and we came in like at the end of the trailers, and sure enough, like he was like, "This is loud," and I was like, "Right, put these on," and he felt much better. So he went into that film very buzzing. So I give his thoughts and then my thoughts after.
Yeah, well, it's his review. Also, I feel like I was waiting for a voice note for his review, but I never got one. So I do need to know his opinion at some point.
We can do an Uncle Now and voice note for sure.
Okay,
yeah, we'll get that review in there. I think he was on a par with the first film for him. Honestly, like I think that there were some, I would argue, some like darker, scarier moments. And in the moment, Caroline and I were like, "You okay?" And he was like, "I'm okay. It's not scary." He said, "It's not scary for me. It's scary for them." It's like, okay, fair enough. He's got all the chat, and admittedly, he was a bit freaked out going to bed at night last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
he was a bit freaked out. I mean, he's only just turned 4, and
sure.
I think I've said on the show, but like he's a very sensitive 4-year-old. He is very, very cautious and clingy, and there's loads of advantages to him being very cautious, but there's also disadvantages in some senses. So, but yeah, he's a gentle soul. I think there were things in this film that he was a bit like, "Whoa, okay, right." So he was a bit freaked out, but he slept fine in the end. He's sleeping fine as I record this now.
Okay,
so it's all
that's good.
But yeah, 2 thumbs up from him. He does not care about any of my criticisms of this film.
Of course,
I think Miyamoto and Meledandri-san, they've done it again. They have one happy customer, and he will happily pay some good money for the 3rd film whenever that comes out.
And the Donkey Kong film, in fact, which you'll probably be even more excited for.
Has that been T's crossed, I's dotted? Is that
I'm pretty sure they have said that they're making one.
Right, okay.
What I know. So yeah, I think it's guaranteed to happen. So
yeah, I mean, he will lose his mind at that Donkey Kong film. Like Donkey Kong is like his number 1 favorite character. I mean, Astrobot's up there too, and Kirby. I think that
you're really molding him in the image of yourself.
Oh yeah, all
like...
3 of them are higher than like Mario and Luigi and Yoshi at the moment, even after this film.
Well, I guess you didn't really introduce him to games with Mario, so he's a secondary concern to some degree, right? He's not really the thing that got him into playing stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So,
he gave me a quick ranking of the video games he's played, by the way.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah. So, number 1 is Astrobot.
Okay.
Loved it, the main game, followed by Astro's Playroom, followed by Donkey Kong Bonanza, followed by Kirby and Forgotten Land, and bottom of the list is a game we're playing at the moment, 3D World,
right?
Which I kind of predicted, and he's wanting to play Astrobot next, so he wants to play that again.
I wonder when you get around to Mario Odyssey if that will change his mind on Mario as a character.
Yeah. Oh, he loves Mario as a character. I just think 3D World is a bit frustrating for him, and I think he will have a great time with Mario Odyssey. But I'm going to get his skills up a bit before we go into Mario Odyssey. That's the plan. But on the films, I think for his audience, these films are great, and they've done another fantastic job. And they want to get kids invested in these characters, and that is exactly what this film has done for him. He is really keen. He will happily watch that Mario film again with me tomorrow, next weekend, whenever we want to sit down, chill out on an afternoon. We're going to do that again. So I think he is Mario pilled, let's say. He is.
Okay, great.
There.
Yeah.
So I guess to my thoughts.
Yes, Malik, give us the harsh critical takedown.
Yeah, I think I was super harsh on the first film.
Yeah.
I think we're very spoiled when we grow up with stuff like Pixar, and we've actually watched animated films with characters.
It's a really high bar for animated movies
Yeah.
these days. Like K-pop Demon Hunters came out last year and was like a really great, example of how it can still be very different but still very effective.
Great point. And I think we are spoiled for growing up with films that have good character development and plot, and you can't always predict what's going to happen. And I think sub to this, most Illumination films, to my knowledge, there's some probably Illumination fans going to shout me out, but to my knowledge, most of them are pretty light on plot. They're pretty casual, and there's not much character development, and those films do gangbusters, and that's kind of what Chris Meledandri is all about, and that's what these films are all about, and that's what Nintendo thought, hey, we'd like a chunk of that, and Miyamoto came along. Miyamoto's added his twist.
Also, Miyamoto historically against storytelling, just doesn't like it, not a fan. So.
Yeah. This film, Mario Galaxy, has like less character development, arguably, than even the first film, which was very light.
Was there even any in that? I guess like a little bit, but
I will defend to the hilt that this film does have a plot. It's been described as having no plot. There is definitely a plot. Is it a strong plot? Of course not. But I think there are, plot-wise, a hell of a lot of Star Wars references in this film. Like, so
really?
many.
Okay.
Yeah, loads.
Huh.
We can talk about that in spoilers in the future. I think this film's on a par in quality with the first film. I think what this film does better is the deep cuts for the Nintendo fans. I think this film is so much richer across all the games and more that you can think of. That is like, wow, they've really gone here. And the introduction of Star Fox, I think, is done very well. I'm very convinced there will be a Star Fox spin-off film.
Right. So this was what I was going to ask as well. It's like, what was Bally Jr.'s reaction to Star Fox? Has he asked you, is there a Star Fox game?
He's not asked me. We've not actually talked about Fox McCloud since seeing him in the film.
Okay.
He didn't know who he was going in, and then I'm like, I kind of want to push things that I could realistically play with him. So
yeah, that's fair.
Is he ready for like Smash Brothers, where he's just going to be opened up to every single Nintendo
to everyone
fan,
who exists,
Nintendo character? I don't think he's there yet, and that's probably the first Star Fox inclusion I would want to introduce him to. And we can talk about the rumored Star Fox game in a bit, but I've not thought about how to introduce Star Fox to him.
It's just interesting because I saw someone on Blue Sky was posting like, oh, got back from the movie and my son wanted to play Star Fox, and so there's this like kid who's playing N64 like Star Fox on the TV basically.
Wow, yeah.
Which is very interesting.
I think if he was a bit older, 100%. I think it's just not ready for like a space shooter or any other type of Star Fox game yet.
But I guess that means the character didn't stand out enough for him to be inquisitive about it, maybe.
Probably not. No, he's a big character. He's not the main character or in the main 4 or 5 characters. But yeah.
Okay.
No. But yeah, Bally Jr. had a great time. I think the deep cut references by the end are like, wow. I was just like explaining all this nerdy shit to Caroline. Like, can you actually believe that they include? And she's like, I don't care. I really don't. I'm like, but
that's why I'm here, so we can have a conversation about that shit. Yeah.
Amy has not seen the film yet, so we're meant to reference this thing.
Just have to wait. Yeah.
And there's some really good stuff in there. There's nothing in there that made me like jaw on the floor. Oh my god, how did they? And I think in terms of references, I think Star Fox arguably is the strongest, but yeah. And there's 2 post-credit scenes I would recommend people try and see those when they go. But yeah, it's good stuff. I think it's fun. Did I maybe enjoy this film overall more? I think it felt fresher because it was my first time seeing it, and
it sounds like it's more targeted towards Nintendo fans, generally speaking. Like, it feels like the 2 audiences for this game are Nintendo fans and children under the age of 6, right? Like,
yes.
And I think anyone else, it's not really made for anyone else, weirdly. Despite like the fact that lots of people not in those demographics will watch this movie. So yeah, it's interesting that that's the route they chose, because it is quite targeted, it feels like. Do you think, and we can maybe discuss this further as well after I've seen it, but do you feel them setting up a universe here? Obviously, Star Fox, Pikmin are in the movie as well. I know, did hear about that. So, is there going to be? Are they setting stuff up for this to be a Smash Brothers final showdown type of deal when we get there?
Yeah. I think it's all building. They know what they're doing.
How does Zelda fit into that? Because Zelda is going to be a live action thing.
I know. If I had to bet, I think they've probably put Zelda right down their list in terms of animated. They'll see how the live action goes. If the live action dies a horrible death, they can just make an animated Zelda in like 12 years time and go from there. I think Zelda's probably quite far down the list animated wise. And yeah, I think it also benefits them that they have this just crazy world that with like such little, there's so few rules in this world, and I think they've done that quite purposefully, honestly, by this point, that it just allows them to introduce Star Fox and introduce other crazy stuff, and I think that works nicely for them. And you know, Smash Brothers is a very crazy world, so if they want to replicate that in some way, it's not going to have a strong story, and that's okay.
Yeah, I do feel like a bit of an outlier with these Nintendo movies in the sense that I'm not really a movie person, and if I didn't do this podcast, I probably wouldn't go and see the movies. I just have no interest in it as a thing. Like, I like Nintendo because they make video games, and that's what they are good at. They're not good at telling stories, unless you're talking about Monolith Soft, right? Like, Call Nintendo don't care about narrative. They are so uninterested in that when it comes to their games, because they are always mechanics first, right? And that's the thing that I love about their games, and I think, you know, it's the thing that makes them one of the most interesting companies to follow. Their move into movies is like, okay, I guess you need to do that for like the brand and all this stuff, but I just wouldn't off my own back go and just watch this, you know, because I know it's not great as a movie, and it's not really what I'm looking for from Nintendo.
There's enough there for you to have a good time. Like, I think you're like, oh yeah, that's that, and there's that, and there's that. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's fine, but it ultimately comes down to being quite vapid, because it's like, you're basically the Leonardo pointing meme the whole movie, and it's like, okay, but there's no substance to any of it, because all it is references essentially at the end of the day. So, you know, that's fine. I guess that's a thing that they want to do. But
I mean, I do think the illumination animation style is very impressive, and there's a lot of pretty stuff to look at. So I think that's the unique shine, I guess, they have on this. And I would say that there is no little to no story, but I think the references you would get a kick out of. And I would I see it without Bally Jr.? Yes, like I'd see it, and yeah.
Would you see it if you didn't do this podcast?
That's very hard to know, to be honest. I see what you mean.
Because I just wouldn't. I think you know. I just like. Well, I would probably. You know what I would do is I would just like go online and just read all the spoilers, because I don't really care about that stuff. I'm like,
really? I'm very. We can talk about it in a second, but I do think a big improvement this film has is the lack of like licensed music. There's a lot more Nintendo.
More referential Nintendo stuff. Yeah, a
lot more Nintendo referential stuff. Maybe that speaks to, like, as you said, like this film is a lot more aimed at Nintendo fan and under fives, versus the first film, which was maybe trying to go a little more mainstream, arguably. Who I don't know, maybe, and needed the Who Wants to Be. I Need a Hero song and all that.
I think they would. I think especially because it's the first time they're doing it, they don't know how big a success it's going to be. They want to lean on some like staples of, like, you know, pop culture, I guess, as opposed to thinking that Mario can do it on his own. And I think they've now proven they can. So they probably are not leaning on that stuff as much, which is good. But
I do think using Star Fox as a marketing beat was a real shame. I can kind of see why they did it, but I think it's super sad, because I think that would have been the biggest pop for me if I'd managed to
for sure
see it. And I was pretty confident. I'd not seen enough on social media to the point where I could have gotten to Friday without having seen any spoilers, and would have seen it in the film. So that's a bit of a shame. But they have their marketing team have their reasons. They obviously think that, like, Star Fox appeals to a wide enough audience that they could sell a few more tickets, and you know, he's a fairly big part of the latter part of this film, so I think that's cool. He's worth seeing, and it's interesting. It's cool.
Yeah, I think it's probably a interesting. I don't know. I feel like it's definitely broadening their audience, and it's definitely putting them on the map as a cultural force. I just have no interest really, and I think that's the case with like every external media thing that they do. It's just like, okay, this is great for somebody. It's just not for me, right? Because I'm already there for the stuff that they are going to do. So yeah.
If
I don't know.
they,
I do find it weird how invested Nintendo fans get in this stuff, and they're like, oh man, I really hope they do a good movie, and I'm like, I just really don't give a shit if it's a bad movie, because I just don't watch it then, it doesn't affect my enjoyment of the core of Nintendo, which is video games, right? So,
I think I enjoyed this film a lot more because my expectations were far more managed than the first one, where I have not seen a ton of Illumination films. I don't know their style. I don't know. I didn't quite realize how distant they are to Pixar. So I think going into the first one, I was like, oh, ouch. Yeah, what was that? Whereas this one, I was like, yep, that's what I expected. But, for what it is, it's good. It is good.
It's fine. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that's good to know. And yeah, I will try and see it this week, and then we can talk about all the stuff that apparently is referenced, which I am interested in. I am curious to see, like, is there some weird, like, deep cut hardware? Like, are they playing a Virtual Boy at one point in time? That might be the case. Interesting stuff.
I think that prediction, you're in the right ballpark on some stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
They go esoteric is what you're telling me.
They know their audience.
Okay, that's good. Great. Fantastic. If they don't have the fucking Satellaview Zelda in there, then I'm going to be disappointed, Bally. Okay, cool. Well, kind of jumping off that point, right? The whole Star Fox of it all was quite interesting, because subsequent to this announcement, to this like social media blast of, by the way, Star Fox is in the movie, there were some rumors on the street, some hot rumors from Nate the Hate, who has a pretty strong track record, as well as VGC, who are corroborating these rumors, that we are going to get this year a new Star Fox video game, which is some rare synergy from Nintendo. I think it makes sense, right, with the fact that they have him in this movie, and they are also planning a game at the same time. It means that people know who Star Fox is, therefore you get another game. And like you were saying, I think like Star Fox is just such a perfect fit for movies. I think they are going to do a Star Fox standalone, no doubt. Now that I think what they're doing with characters is really smart, in the sense that everyone's in the door for Mario, and then what you do is you fucking sleeper agent, get them to know who Star Fox is by putting him in the Mario movie. Then Marvel style, you're like, oh, now you know who he is, we're going to do a standalone movie with him, and that subsequently lifts the brand and maybe means that people actually fucking buy Star Fox video games. Which is what they're kind of planning on doing.
Like before the MCU, who was the second most popular Marvel superhero after Spider-Man?
X-Men?
I'd say X-Men and like Wolverine. I think right now
Wolverine,
it's 100% Iron Man, like 100%.
Yes.
And I think that's because of the MCU. And I think that there's a
And
host.
no one knew what the fuck the Guardians of the Galaxy were, and now they're fucking huge.
Well, exactly. They were allowed to do deep cuts, and I think that there will be an Iron Man equivalent in the Nintendo roster who will have their own film, and it will take off. And I do think Star Fox is
I think it is Star
candidate.
Fox.
It probably is Star
100%.
Fox. And I think if you're going to do this multiverse thing, and it's predominantly based in space, Star Fox is just the best character to like hang 100%. That peg on, hang that hook on, hook on that peg.
Yeah,
what am I trying to say?
Yeah. he's good for that stuff. Yeah.
Here's a funny question. Do you know what animal Slippy is?
I mean, we call him Slippy Toad, right? That's what people call him. Are you telling me he's not a toad, Bally?
He's a frog.
Yeah, I guess so.
Isn't that
he is a frog?
Wild? Why is he called Slippy Toad if he's a frog? Like they're just playing with us. They're playing with us.
Yeah,
anyway.
very odd. Very odd.
Star Fox references like, oh yeah, my frog companion or whatever, and I look, but he's called Toad, and I looked it up after the film. Like, sure enough, he's called Slippy Toad, but he is based on a bullfrog. He is a frog. Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway,
okay, very funny.
There you go.
But yeah, no, I think rumor is that it is a traditional style Star Fox game, which, hey, guess what? We've had a lot of fucking those, a lot of up to bats for Star Fox, and I don't know. I feel it's interesting because it seems like this is a Miyamoto pet franchise, right? Like, he's
yeah.
a big fan of it. He wants it to be important and big. And the interesting part is that Miyamoto has not been involved in the game side of Nintendo for quite a few years. Aside from, playing Breath of the Wild and climbing on everything and being like, I want to climb this tree. Like, he's there for feedback and stuff, but it feels like he's not...
He must have been involved in Star Fox Zero, right?
Well, yes. So Star Fox Zero, I think, is the last one he had some level of involvement in.
It was the last Star Fox game.
It was. But now he is fully on the movie and theme park and like external media train, right? And he's not really made or been involved in the creation of something for a long time. And so it is a team at Nintendo who'll be working on this, probably removed from Miyamoto and to some degree expectations from it. So I am really interested to see what they do with it, because I would hope that they try and go in a slightly different direction and try and broaden what Star Fox is and make it not just a rail shooter, but like, I don't know, I feel like if they had taken Assault and like gone down that route a little bit further and like been able to thread a third-person shooter Star Fox alongside the vehicle-based and the kind of space-based stuff, they could have got to a cool place. But ultimately, Assault wasn't a success, and then they didn't ever return to that style of thing. They made Command, they did, the remake of Star Fox 64 and on 3DS, and there really wasn't much follow-up from that. So then Zero obviously is the only modern Star Fox game that exists. So yeah, I do hope that they be a bit more bold with it, and I think that there's an audience there who would be open to something like that. So yeah, the rumors don't give me the best of hopes on it, but I think you can do something really cool with this IP, and I just feel like it has been underutilized and underdone for quite a long time. I have some hope. I
like Star Fox a lot. I was a big fan of Star Fox Zero, so I'm very convinced that I will happily play a 7 out of 10 Star Fox and have a good time. Will we get a 7 out of 10 Star Fox? Probably. Can I see this game doing better critically? Hopefully, but
I think it does. I think the main reason Zero was so reviled by people was the control scheme. Like, nobody wanted to take the gamepad and do the aiming on the gamepad. Like, it was so gimmick coded. It was built around the Wii U specifically, and Nintendo were very much pushing that as a part of it, and the way that it was marketed, to the point where people were like, I hate how this feels, I don't like this, why do you not give me an option to do blah blah blah? And I feel like we're now in an era where at least hardware gimmick in Nintendo doesn't really exist anymore. Aside from saying like a thing controls with a mouse optionally, there's really no gimmick for the Switch and Switch 2. It's like, oh, you can play it handheld and it will look just as good. And so what is Star Fox in that era? Is it, what is the thing that makes it stand out and different? Because that's the question they always ask as a company. It's like, why have they not done this in years? It's, oh, well, we don't have enough unique ideas for it, right? And I think Star Fox
don't look at New Super Mario Brothers or Animal Crossing. They always have that caveat. Like, don't look at those games.
Or Splatoon, I guess. Splatoon, like there are, and Pokemon as well. While we're at it, there's certain franchises that are immune from that because they just sell 1 billion copies every time. But certainly Star Fox is one where I feel like they need to justify the reason for making a new Star Fox, and so I think hopefully there's something here that is unique enough to make it stand out and be its own thing. But
yeah, I don't know what it'll be. I do think the likelihood is it's a glorified Star Fox 64 with new worlds, levels, missions, final bosses, but you're still taking like a route to get through the universe and defeat the final boss, and you probably will have a score, and you can do alternate routes, and there's secret routes and this kind of thing. You'll control like R-Wings and Landmasters, and there'll be a bit of both, but like, I'd be shocked if they move away from that blueprint, because they've not really done that blueprint in HD without doing the control scheme of Zero, which was very unpopular, as you said. So like, I think that arguably they still owe that, as in like, it's been away for so long. It's the same F-Zero argument. It's been away for so long that you can try just doing the most bland thing, but do it in HD in 2026. And the reason I think Star Fox is different is because there very well might be some more thought gone into like linking this to the film and thinking, yes, we might make a weaker game, but you're misunderstanding how the potential of Star Fox and that crew is just phenomenal. And I think it's one of those games where they could back down and say, like, Miyamoto knows best and he's in charge of the films, and let's just let him do his thing, because he thinks they can make money from this game even if it's not good because of a future Star Fox film or because of, you know, the Super Mario Galaxy film. So I don't know, maybe that's very negative towards like Nintendo developers and what they can potentially do from like a development perspective, but knowing how much the ball was dropped on Zero, even though I loved it, it makes me a bit nervous.
Yeah, so there's a few things. So in terms of the approach that you can take with a movie for Star Fox, I think it fits perfectly because it, like, if you think about narratively, it's like the only N64 game with voice acting, essentially, on a Nintendo first-party perspective. Like, it's a game that is built off the back of Thunderbirds as an IP of, like, Miyamoto loved that show and wanted to make something that was in the vein of Thunderbirds, and so Star Fox kind of was born into being as that kind
He loved the Torii gates in Kyoto and decided we need to fly through gates with an army.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, Thunderbirds are up. And so I think as an IP, it's just built for external media far more so than Mario or Zelda even are, right? There's a focus on characters and character interactions that neither of those games in their early iterations were really focused on. So I think it's perfect for that. The other side of it, from a gameplay perspective, thinking about this is, you know, Nintendo always late to the trend with a lot of different things, especially from a genre perspective. And there is one genre space that has become very hot in recent years and that would work actually perfectly for a Star Fox game.
What are you going to say?
And that's a roguelike.
Yeah.
If you make Star Fox a roguelike, I mean, it's about different paths and a single run through, finishing it in an hour. Like, if you build upgrades and, like, alternate paths and routes that you unlock, like, it is just an actual perfect fit for Star Fox as a formula. And there is a world I can see where Nintendo builds a more traditional Star Fox, but it works because that arcade design melds with roguelike progression in such a perfect way that it could make it way more compelling for people, right? And a thing that people keep playing and coming back to. So, I think that could be a route they go down. They have done roguelikes before. They did it with Splatoon DLC, so it's not like they're a stranger to it. They have tried it, but in a full-fledged game as like the core thing, yeah, they haven't. So I do wonder about that, and if they think that could be a good fit, because, well, yeah, it potentially could be. If there's nothing else on Star Fox Ballet, then we can talk about the other rumored game.
I was just going to say they did do the roguelike mode for the Splatoon DLC, so that they are aware of this term, or at least they know the concept. And there was one other example they did of a roguelike. I've completely forgotten.
It is Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Of course,
right?
yes.
Because they did the DLC for that, which was going around the island and collecting stuff and doing runs, basically.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, I think you can do it for a full game and build it around it and make it make sense. We'll see. Yeah. The other Bally rumor is a Zelda rumor. Oh. Apparently, they're going to remake a little old game called Ocarina of Time.
This one feels a bit willed into existence, doesn't it? I feel like people have been talking about this a while, and then all of a sudden,
this is such a like fan casting type of like,
is like Chrono
make our
Trigger
dream come
remake
true
kind of space. Yeah,
I mean, it's like Final Fantasy VII, right? Like, that was for years and years. People wanted Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it was only because Square Enix like teased stuff on the PS3 where they were like, oh, here's what Final Fantasy VII would look like if it was on the PS3, and that just started people going like, oh, what if they remade Final Fantasy VII? And obviously in recent years we have had that actual remake happen, but we've also had it with other franchises like Resident Evil, and how Resident Evil has completely like shook up its older games and like fully modernized them. You know, Resident Evil is a really good comparison here because those games were PlayStation 1 games. So Ocarina to like modernity, if you were to take the same approach that Capcom did with RE2, could be like in fans' minds like a mind-blowing thing where they add voice acting and they do a bit more, like they change some things and like you have more story and side quests and things like that. And I think the thing that we have always said on this podcast is, look, motherfuckers, this is Nintendo. they ain't gonna do that. And so I think the real question for me is, what is the likelihood that it isn't just Ocarina of Time 3D turned to HD and like add a little bit of like bits and pieces on top?
I know. It feels, based on our podcast podcasting circles, everyone is absolutely convinced that this is going to be glammed up in a much more substantial way. And the thing that they keep coming back to is, do you remember in 1998 or whatever, getting to Hyrule Field and that feeling?
Yes.
And they basically argue that you can't have the feeling of getting to Hyrule Field and it just basically looks like an HD version of the 1998 Hyrule Field after you've played a game like Breath of the Wild. Like, that would just feel ridiculous. And then part of me is like, I can totally see Nintendo doing that. I can totally see them imagining that the impact of Hyrule Field is arguably not that important in 2026, and that Ocarina of Time is so much stronger in all of these other aspects that they will want to improve and work on, and it will be the 3DS remake just glammed up, as you said, Amy said. So I think that's what I would put my money on. Can Nintendo be unpredictable enough to actually do something more ground up for this remake? They can. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. I can't see it.
I think also the thing with games like Final Fantasy and Resident Evil is that they have such a big narrative focus, and Nintendo have never been narrative. As we've talked about this fucking movie, they don't know how to do narrative. They have never been, like, they have stories in their games, but they have never been about that. The story is more about the player character and what you do on your journey. And so a traditional, like, narrative told through Ocarina of Time, which has a cool story framing to it, but is still relatively thin. It's about, going back in time and all this sort of stuff, and there's some cool moments, but like, I think people in their mind's eye have this like imagining of like, oh, it's fully voice acted, and like we'll get extra cutscenes with like people fleshing out the backstory of Hyrule and all this sort of stuff. And like, just look at Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like, that's not what they do. Like, they have very minimal cutscenes, and a lot of them are like not the best in terms of voice acting, right? Like, it's not great writing, not great direction, like not great storytelling. And so if you think that that's what they're going to do with this, like, I'm sorry, I don't think that's what it's going to be, If you gave this to Capcom, 100% they could do that. But Nintendo making this themselves, I just don't see it happening.
If it's the Zelda team working on this in some capacity, as you said, that's just not the direction the Zelda team are going in at the moment. Like, look at Echoes of Wisdom. Like, that was very much had some structural elements that were very akin to Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. So even in the 2D space, that's not where they're going. If there's some other team that Nintendo want to put on this game and say, hey, look, we've got this Zelda film coming out next year. Tell you what, we're finally getting Link to talk in the Zelda film, and we want you to do the film-inspired remake of Ocarina of Time, and we're doing like this big, bold move that makes it more akin to Final Fantasy VII Remake, then that seems just so outlandish for what Nintendo are, but equally so does a live-action Zelda film. Like, that feels outlandish in one sense, but I feel like
the only way this works is if Monolith Soft have not been making an RPG and instead they've been making this, because they are the only team in Nintendo who can narratively pull that off.
I agree.
That could be a possibility, but I don't think that's the case.
I just think the film crew will have so much more artistic license to do what the hell they want narratively than this game will have, and I think that it's not. I want to play it. I just don't think it's going to be earth-changing.
No, and I think the tough part of it is, from a design standpoint, the dungeons of Ocarina of Time still, I would argue, hold up from enjoyment and good. Like way they're threaded together. So like major changes to stuff like dungeons, I don't see Nintendo doing. Aside from streamlining, which they already did in the remake on 3DS with the Water Temple, for example, right, where they streamlined a lot of stuff there. So, yeah, I mean, I will wait and await judgment, but I am very much tempering my expectations when it comes to a thing called Ocarina of Time remake, because we've been burned too many times in the past from this company to expect anything more than the bare minimum from that. So we shall see.
Can we just talk about how wild it is that Nate the Hate exists and has been accurate on
that
previous...
He knows all this stuff,
He's been accurate on previous predictions, although I can't name them off the top of my head. And on top of that, has not been assassinated by Nintendo yet. Like, I just think that whole... We've followed Nintendo a very long time. This level of leaking, when we're talking about major releases in the upcoming year, I can't remember another time this has kind of happened on this level, and I just think it's absolutely wild that we're at this point. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and then part of it is also Nintendo's lack of communication this year so far. They have done a lot of partner showcases and indie worlds and things like this, but no major direct. Like, they've just put the Yoshi release date out there. Tomodachi had its own PR cycle with previews. Like, they are not marketing that stuff through those presentations at the moment, and it sounds like we're not getting one until June at this point in time. So it's kind of the ship has sailed on a major direct for the first part of the year, and so now we're just awaiting something in June to announce this stuff, and then maybe talk about Fire Emblem as well, because that also needs some more information being put out there. But I mean, if this year we get Fire Emblem and Star Fox and Ocarina of Time remake, I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest with you. I think
that looks like a great second year for a new system as well. Like, we're on year 2 of Nintendo Switch 2. That would be great.
I think so. Yeah. And there's a couple more rumors, which maybe, I don't know, less accurate maybe, or I think these came from some comment on a YouTube video, I think, that also predicted correctly some of the other stuff. And it was saying that a Super Metroid remake that was almost still in a pixel art style was being worked on at Mercury Steam, which is something that we have thought about, in predictions in the past. And then also a Metroid Dread sequel was in the works as well, which is the more obvious one that I would have expected. Like, Dread did so well, and I think clearly that's the direction that Metroid should be going in, and doing more along those lines. So yeah, I mean, that would be great. I think I want both of these things. Obviously, the more Metroid, the better. I was really annoyed, Bally, because after I left San Francisco, they added a bunch of Metroid merch to the Nintendo store in San Francisco.
No.
And I was like, you motherfuckers, could you not have just done it while I was there? So
you can get a decent chunk of it online, actually. I got a nice Zelda sweatshirt, as they say in the States.
Right.
A crew neck jumper.
Yeah, I think some of it is exclusive to the store.
Some is, yeah.
But I did get my one.
Did
Metroid
you want the
thing
gun arm cushion? That's pretty cool.
I did want the gun arm cushion,
fun.
yeah.
On a cold winter's morning, you just want your left hand covered.
Yes. Oh dear.
Stick it in the gun arm.
Just buy 2 of them and just have both of your hands inside. You know what you should do is you get the 2 Joy-Cons, put it inside so you can keep playing while your hands are warm, That's the real meta.
Sweaty. That is sweaty. But yeah,
a little bit sweaty.
Okay.
No, the next meta is to do motion control while playing Prime 4 while wearing both of those. That's peak Metroiding. But I think both of those sound like very good things that I would like to happen. I feel like Super Metroid Remake still being pixel art is a really interesting thing, because that's not what I would expect.
Right? I was hoping for like the Link's Awakening art style, honestly. Like, let's go chibi and weird and different. But if you want something that does have the atmosphere of Super Metroid, which, let's admit, is probably one of the strongest aspects of that game, maybe chibifying it is not the way to go.
No.
So, yeah, I don't know why you don't just do it in the style of Dread. Why go pixel art? I don't know, but there you go.
Yeah, I of course, I think these are exciting. I don't know if these would also be this year. That might be a bit overkill potentially.
Yeah, I doubt that, yeah.
But I don't know. We are still quite a ways away until we get more information, I think, from Nintendo. If the rumor is that June is when they're gonna talk about all this stuff.
So we're sitting in April now. Have we got a date for Yoshi? I can't remember when it is.
I think it's in May, sometime in May. So and I'm pretty sure Tomodachi is April, later in April.
Tomodachi April, Yoshi May. June, we don't really know.
No, I don't think so.
So we've got June, July, August, September, October.
And don't forget about Bally, Game of the Year 2026, Rhythm Heaven Groove.
Rhythm Heaven,
still don't know.
Yep, that's 1 month, but there's still a whole lot of months to fill. I mean, one of them will be Fire Emblem. There's no Pokemon, as we've discussed. There's a lot of slots to fill. And
more slots, yeah.
I don't see all 4 of these being this year, but I mean, it seems like Ocarina of Time and Star Fox are guaranteed.
Those are the front runners, yeah.
Close to guaranteed. I mean, Nintendo could always shift things based on a rumor, but that seems very un-Nintendo. They're just gonna pretend the rumor hasn't happened and get the assassins going. So yeah,
that's what they do. But yeah, I mean, Star Fox is a game that has not had a Nintendo Switch entry, and what happens when Nintendo does something in the Switch era, it usually seems to break through a little bit more and maybe changes things for its franchise somewhat. So there is an opportunity with the synergy of the movie and maybe having a game that is good enough that could really send Star Fox to another level. At least that's the hope.
Yeah.
But maybe space shooters are just a dead genre. I don't know. Certainly in the indie space, that is true. I don't think that there are many successful space shooters that exist in that level. So I don't know.
But if they can get the heart right, if they can get the characters, the writing, the voice acting, the world, the lore, the plot, the locations, and if the gameplay is not that, is a bit more iterative, that's also fine, honestly. I do think Star Fox is so much about the characters that if they can just nail that, which I think Star Fox Zero did okay with, but people just really dislike the gameplay, I think they're onto a winner.
I think, having that new design for Fox in the Mario movie obviously lends credence to them doing something that visually aligns with it like they did with Donkey Kong.
I really liked his design in the film, actually. I think it's
okay.
I think they can go places with that style.
I've always wanted them to do the puppet thing and go back to that puppet stuff they had at E3 and just make a game in the puppet style. Even visually have the planes be on little strings and stuff, and you could see it.
Oh my God.
Be fucking amazing if they could make that work. But that, again, they would more likely do that with Kirby, because that's what they do with Kirby, is just put them in different Play-Doh and whatever the fuck. So but yeah, God, that would be, I think that's the dream Star Fox game, honestly, is one that looks like that.
I wasn't against either Star Fox GP, let's get some space racing going. I always like that idea. So and if you're not going to give him a spin-off, let's go mainline. Let's do it.
Yeah,
make it good.
The real question, Bally, is when is Captain Falcon showing up? Because it's going to happen. I think at some point they got to bring that guy in. He feels like
you mean in the cinematic universe?
In the cinematic universe, yeah.
Yeah.
Is he a post-credit stinger in Donkey Kong or something? I don't know. Yeah, I feel like there's a way he could bring him into this universe somehow.
I think he'll make it in the next 5 years. You'll see.
Okay.
Animated Captain Falcon in one of these Mario or Donkey Kong or Star Fox films for sure.
Yeah. I think Star Fox makes sense, right? I think you probably bring him in the Star Fox movie to then link it together with the Star Fox / F-Zero lore type of deal, right? With what is it? It's James McCloud, and then he's also represented in F-Zero somehow.
Yeah, he's a racer.
So
exactly.
So that would be a good threading of the universes, because they already kind of a little bit threaded together. So you could do even more with that. So cool. Okay. I think that is going to do us for this episode of the podcast. So thank you all for listening. Of course, you can find us in various places. One of those places is an email address that you can send emails to. We didn't do any this time, but we will probably return to them in the subsequent episode. So, Bally, where can they send those emails to?
Please send your emails to ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. That is ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. And we've got a channel in our Discord server called Emails. Put your comments, questions over there. You know what? I think we should probably do a shout out for if you've seen the Mario Galaxy film and have opinions, comments, questions, send those in, because next time hopefully MZ will have seen it and we can be a little bit more spoilery, and we could maybe bring a couple of those in if you have some interesting points we want to talk about. We could do that.
That'd be good. Yeah, you can also obviously pop those onto the Discord, and join the Discord. We have the link to that as well. Great. You can obviously support the show if you so wish, going to patreon.com/ThisNintendoLife. You get some bonus episodes and fun things, and Bally would like to thank some of our supporters.
Yes, thank you to our $10 tier plus patrons. They are Selvin C, Zach S, Thomas, Matthew, Albert, Wicked Gamer UK Alan, Orange Thunder, Nintendo Man, Turtle, and Ali T. Thank you all for your $10 tier plus support, and thank you also to all of our other patrons. We really, really, really appreciate all the support you give the show. We'll put out another episode of this non-Tender Life out next weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So I look forward to that. You can find the show in various places. You can follow me on Blue Sky. I'm at NBZ. Where are you, Bally?
I'm at Ballyman91. That's BALLYMAN91.
Great. And you can also follow the podcast on there at TNL Podcast for updates etc. And yeah, find the show in various places. We're on Spotify, we're on Stitch. You can download us, you can subscribe to the feed, you can rate us and review us, and that would be very nice if you so wished to do, and that would be great. And I think that is going to be it. Next time, I need to figure out what I'm playing about.
Yeah.
That's the real idea. So I have to have a dig through and figure out, do I want to keep chipping away at backlog stuff, or do I want to, go into the black hole that is Pocopia and ruin my life? It's just a real question here. So
I might try and finish mainline of like Procopia for next time. We'll see.
Okay.
I don't know.
Cool.
Otherwise, I might try and play something smaller, and I will try and keep Overwatch at bay, but that might be quite difficult with a new character coming. So
pretty tough.
We'll try. And obviously, The Witcher 3 beat keeps going.
Yes, very good. Cool. Well, I think that is going to be everything. Thanks all so much for listening. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with some more podcasting, more chat about Nintendo. Until then, bye-bye. The musical interlude used on today's show was Burden of Fate from Paranormasight, The Mermaid's Curse. Copyright Square Enix 2026.